Live from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the path.
You're listening to Live from the Path. We're coming to you from the Pathway Studios here in Johnston proper. Yep. Hold on. Trying out the old Pioneer SE205s tonight.
It's a Pioneer. It's got to be good.
See, that's what I saw. So I saw them at the thrift store. So have you guys been to the Google outlet? Or not the Google? Why do I keep saying the Google outlet? The Goodwill outlet.
Yeah, where they put all the stuff in the bins and they sell it to you by weight.
Yeah, Dan, have you been there?
I never have.
It's on the south side. And so, they just bring these big bins out, and they all got, just piles of junk and clothes and stuff.
Brother buys purses.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah,
exactly
I
right.
Hearing about it, I just never. Yeah.
So I was on the south side picking up a kid, and I thought, hey man, I'm out here, a reasonable excuse to go digging through stuff. It's like opportunity day.
Are you saying picking up one of your own kids?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we abandoned them on the south side and thought we'd best pick them up. And so, but anyway, I go and I dig through the barrels and stuff, and I come across these headphones, and they're like big 1970s looking cans. If you're only on the audio, you can't see them, but like they're pretty robust, and they were Pioneers, and I thought, well, these are funky. And so I looked them up real quick on the eBay to see whether they were legit, and some fellas had some pretty positive things to say. And so I thought, well, heck, I'm gonna pick them up. I think if I barrel out the weight, it had to have cost me like $1.85 or something for these headphones.
It's like a giant one of those egg shaker percussion dealies cut in half.
That's right. Right on the head.
Yeah.
They're a little boxy. But anyway, just know that if you're listening tonight, you're part of history. I'm taking it in these vintage SE205s, and it doesn't matter to you one bit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ben.
All right, yeah, there we go. So anyway, you're listening to Live from the Path. We got to go on the show tonight. So first of all, we got to check the complaint line and see if there's any action on it. I think I'll do that. Mike, I thought we were talking about something. Shoot, do you have anything?
I got some dear laughs from the past. We were talking about the weight, like feeling the weight of, the gift that we've been given through salvation, and whether you actually feel that or not. Whether it's normal to feel it or not feel it, or that kind of thing. We were talking about that as we walked in a little bit. And in fact, one of the kids came up with a prime example where they're like, "Hey, I was doing this thing and we talked about it, and I thought I had it all straightened out, and then the next day I'd find myself tooting around and completely forgotten that it turned out to be a big deal." And I thought, man, if the weight of what we had talked about had settled in, then you wouldn't have forgotten. So it can't mean that much to you.
Yeah.
And then it translates to, if the weight of the gift that Christ has given me by dying for the punishment of my sin and allowing me to be back close to the Father, if the weight of that would hit me correctly, maybe I'd stop acting like a fool. So why hasn't it hit me? And so that's what we were talking about, is whether it's normal to feel that weight, and actually, what does it look like to feel the weight? Like, do you weep in a corner? Our grand consortium was that I don't know that any of us feels like we feel it, in some kind of deep and heavy way. So I don't know. That's a perfect thing for the complaint line is to talk about.
Right.
I mean, do you feel it? Do you feel like it hits you heavy and like it's profound? When you meditate upon the scriptures where it says, that Christ died for you. Do you go, oh man? I really yes, I really understand that, because I don't feel like it ever hits me that way.
Like reading through Scripture, is there any indication that, say, the Apostle Paul in his writings communicated he felt it? I can't think of any offhand.
He felt when God blinded him.
Well, right, yeah. I mean, there was
Jesus
the initial,
blind.
whoa, yeah, like this is big.
Yeah.
But he didn't walk around, dear Ephesians, oh, by the way, whoa. I mean...
Yeah, there's not a lot of pauses and ellipses or whatever where he lets the moment sink in, but he just explains it fact by fact and says, here's the thing, here's what we expect, here's what your behavior should be, here's everything that God did for you, but showing his love. And I don't know, think of it the same way with the human interaction. Do you ever are driving down the road and you're like, boy, it just hit me right now how much my wife loves me?
Yeah, shoot, I really wish I could say that happens to me.
I have had that.
Dance
or how much
I
love her. Sure. And I think, where did that come from?
It's all.
I mean, that doesn't happen every week or anything, but I can say has happened numerous times over the years where we just like.
It happens to
"Man,
Dan.
God bless me.
So
She's all right.
okay,
Oh, crap.
okay.
Now I'm feeling worse about my relationship with God.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe it's a deal. Maybe it's not a deal. I don't know. Here's the thing: if it is a deal, I would like it, and I will. I need to spend more time. I guess if that's the thing. I mean, am I too cavalier with my time with?
I don't know if it's to spend more time. Now here's the deal: as you get to know, like it's with any relationship, right? The closer you get, the more likely you feel it when there's an interaction between parties, or like when someone insults your friend versus or even like slightly versus something that might happen to a stranger that you're barely paying attention to. You start to feel that it becomes something that becomes part of you, and so I think that is something that can change. But like I don't know. I don't know that it's the right thought to say I want that I'm going to put forth effort so that I may feel this.
Yeah.
Because it is a true thing, and if you believe the true thing, it does seem like it hits people differently. Like what I just read a book by Francis Chan called Letters to the Church, and one of the things he says in there is he's talking about something we serve a God who died for our sins. And if that doesn't knock you to your knees every time you hear it, I don't know what does. And I'm like, dang, I just, I'm not really knocked to my knees on it. I believe it. And it informs basically everything that comes after it. But like, I don't.
Right. You have a life that has been built around it.
Mm-hmm.
And all of its outpouring.
Yeah.
That's right. But I just don't know that it has, I don't know that it's ever had that particular effect where, like, I saw it or felt it or had it change my life emotionally the way that a guy like that has said it does. And so, but I don't know that it has to. Like, I don't know that scripturally I look and I say that has been the reaction. Like, they are reacting to true things that have gone on. And I don't want to make it sound like a cold exchange, because I don't think it's that. I think God roots out and is part of everything in your life. But like, I don't know that it has to be emotionalized to be genuine. Like, the amount of emotion does not reflect the fact that it's true or that it's a genuine thing.
So I think we've said almost the same thing on worship, right? Where people will close their eyes, raise their hand, something, and I mean, could you extend that to so much as the way that you position yourself when you pray? Like when you find people in prostrate and praying with their head to the ground and in a reverence, is that a weight or an emotional type response, or is it just something that we don't do as a culture, and so we haven't given it much of anything?
I can't like lay back in a slackered posture when I pray.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many times I'll be sitting back, and all of a sudden they're gonna pray. I don't know why. It's just a reverent thing or whatever. And I'll lean forward and like get my arm off whatever I'm doing, if I've got my arm around my wife or something, and like, okay, this is like prayer time, and that's probably a cultural thing, I would think. But but this because I'll even have that moment of God doesn't really care.
Right.
I can have my arm over here if I want, and I'm like, I can't do it. I did that like last week.
Yeah.
And I removed my arm, and I moved forward, and I'm like, okay, this is.
Yeah, I often pray on the way. Every week I pray on the way to the show. I'm like praying, God, will you use the show to either our benefit or someone else's? And I take my hat off when I'm driving.
It's just a thing,
and then I put it back on when I'm done, and like I wait to turn, to turn the radio down, and I wait to put my hat back on, turn the radio up, and keep it driving. And if I start to pray, like continue something or thought that I had with God earlier, my hat comes kind of right back off, which is weird because I actually don't do that all the time. Most Sunday mornings I teach with a hat on, and so like it's weird what you pick and like what you choose, right?
Yeah. Like what is it from our background that made us think, hey, we should do this?
Yeah.
But it'd be almost a violation if we don't.
Right. It's so, and maybe just because like it was your, even if it's not a biblical standard, it's your standard, and you wouldn't want to intentionally violate it, intentionally say, you know what, I don't care about this, because like whatever the line was, you cared about it and said this means something, and I'm going to be faithful to it.
And I don't care if somebody else breaks that standard, because it's like I can't give you a verse,
right?
But I just can't.
Yeah. So I suppose it all kind of bundles up in the same conversation, I guess. Is it like, one, is there something wrong with my faith if I don't feel it that way? And I would say that, I mean, it sounds just like from the 3 fellows in this room right now, we're not walking around and feeling emotionally the weight that some people would talk about, like, hey, Christ died on the cross for your sins. We can acknowledge it. I think there are times where, like, I most certainly have felt it emotionally that I needed it, recognizing that it's true, but not like a guilt burden of it having to occur. And I don't know that it even says much about us I'm not sure there's not an implicit value in it that says, hey, there's a closer relationship with God because it's there. The proper acknowledgement of God is he does as he pleases. Frankly, reacting in obedience is a stronger thing than even, say, feeling an emotional weight, because obedience takes it one step further and says, in reaction to this thing that has gone on, I will do this, I will change, or I will subjugate whatever actions or thoughts I intend to do to be able to do this thing. I think there's a sense of wanting a desire for those types of things, because I feel like it would make it. I mean, you were kind of talking about this. It feels like it would make it easier to be faithful in some obedience or whatever, because you're like, man, if I just carried this thing longer or more often or more consistently, it would be there to remind me, so that I don't do X, Y, and Z that is offensive to God or separates or puts a hole in our relationship or whatever.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
It's like it's almost like an ask from a functional perspective. Because I want to be faithful to you as you have been faithful to me, can I have this emotional reminder stick with me so that I react to it? It's like a tattoo. It's an emotional tattoo. Something that stays with you to remind you to do X, Y, Z because of how it makes you feel.
Well, and the same thing could be said to be true about even the way that we live most of the time. Like, everybody is fully aware that there are people starving, right? And we will continue to even buy things that are stupid. We will,
right.
And we will continue to somehow like serve ourselves in this weird way. And we are fully aware that this situation, but the weight, you feel like if the weight were to hit you, you'd be aghast at yourself. You'd be so embarrassed of the things that you've done that you could not continue. Because of the glaring fact that you've met them and so, but we still do, right? We still do. Not all of us have been to Africa. All of us have been to a poverty-stricken area. All of us have been to a poverty here in the United States. And, we get involved to a certain extent, and then after a while you go, well, I mean, kind of is what it is, and move on. And like, either that's completely shameful or completely shameful.
Yeah, so I think that's the reason, right? Like, why we need reminded of those things. This is the reason Paul reminds people of those things, is that because we lose them so quickly, and so I think there is a value to that. I don't know that the emotional response to it is of any higher consequence or value than the actual understanding of it and saying, yes, I accept that this was the case. I believe that, and in reaction, I do blah blah blah.
Yeah,
it's just emotions tend to stick around longer. I think that's kind of the point, right? Is like the feeling that you had when you saw the impoverished village, and felt at that moment like, I want to do something and I'm willing to sacrifice to get there. And then as soon as that thing is gone, you're done looking in the mirror and you forget your own face and you get yourself back somewhere else, and that motion is no longer there to kind of push you in the right direction. And without that, it seems a lot harder to make the decisions that you want to make. And so, there is a very powerful and a good thing around those emotional things, but I just don't. I got to be careful that it doesn't speak anything about your faith necessarily.
Yeah. I will have an emotional response to the idea of heaven. Oftentimes, after leaving a funeral, that I have talked a lot about heaven.
Right.
If that makes sense. And I'll sit there and think, and I'll have this weird feeling once in a while, almost of like, man, I'm kind of jealous of that guy we just put around.
Yeah.
Which is really kind of weird.
Right.
But then, the next week is like, oh yeah, heaven. We can talk about it.
Yeah, sure.
But like
regular living.
Yeah. But well, today is the anniversary of Sean Ingeldinger's death.
Well, right. Yeah.
And so his was a funeral. Like for that whole week, it was just kind of like, yeah. I mean, it was sad, but it was like still, wow. Oh, yeah, I get to do that someday. But that kind of leaks, that emotion, and then you go back to your faith of, well, I'm going to go there someday.
Yeah, and I still know that to be true.
Yeah,
I'm not feeling it like at 11 right now, but
yeah,
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I suppose like one of the risks you run, I suppose, is trying to chase that emotional feeling around those types of things, which is good, right? Like it's not inherently wrong. It's not bad, right? It's not bad to be excited for
Right.
heaven. It's not bad to have an emotional response to seeing injustice in the world and saying God makes things right, and we're supposed to be a part of that. I should get in on it. I think that's okay. But like there is it's not holy to chase the emotion of it, but it is holy to pursue the actual thing of it, right? The thing that says, the faith that says I know I will be in heaven one day. The faith that says like we actually do need to persist in this, whether it feels like it or not. We should persist in the pursuit of injustice.
Because actually, you can end up worshiping, right? Like it can be exactly what God said don't do, and it's creating a spin-off idol of Him, like a representation of Him. That's not Him.
It's the calf, yeah.
Yes, it's exactly what it ended up being. And like man, I got countless number of dudes behind me that they chased a spin-off version of Jesus, and not they still let God be God, but they found an aspect of His character or one of His promises that they really wanted, and they worshiped that. And then when it didn't come through, they bailed the whole thing.
Yeah, I've talked to many people over the years who, if the emotion wasn't there, they felt like their faith was gone.
Yeah.
And yeah, they missed that whole faith part.
Well, because the truth is, you didn't actually do it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know, it's countless people that I've talked to where they said, look, I just don't feel God in my life, or I feel like God has let me down. He's not doing these things. I'm like, did you actually try? Did you try to follow Him? Oh yeah, I went to church and I'm like, no. I mean, did you hang out with Him? Like, I mean, you pray, and I mean, just spend time with Him. Spend time in your Bible by yourself. You know, did you do any of these things? And pray on your. Oh yeah, I prayed. You know, every once in a while on my problems, and they persisted. Listen, you're not following me. What I'm saying here, you know. And the truth of the matter is, most people that I know that have bailed on Jesus or stopped following Him never actually followed Him in the first place. They ran into the buffet. They tried to grab as many rolls as they could, claim victory, and haul out. And Jesus hadn't even stood up to speak yet, you know. And man, it's what a huge bummer. What a huge bummer. You put all this work and facade into it, and you totally missed the main speech of the man who you were there for. You know.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what, that conversation, the thing we were just talking about people latching on to certain things and making an idol, made me. I've seen a lot of conversations around the social justice gospel. It's like, and people tend to mean it very derogatively. They're like, these guys are pursuing social justice, and really the accusation, I think, is that you've made it an idol. Because like at its core, being part of righting wrongs and facing injustice in the world very much seems like something that. Like we're that's kind of our deal. God ultimately does that, and He points us to be part of that. And so, like, there cannot be any disagreement about that. I don't think. But I think that what the risk is that above worshiping and following God, we worship that aspect of His character that says we're going to right wrongs, and like we ignore other things that God is doing, or we act like that is God's only platform or portion of His character. And like, so I think that's a pretty good example where I've seen a lot of guys. Generally, they overstep in their critique, like they distance people of God from that work simply because they think there are people that are putting too much emphasis on it. I don't think you can overemphasize it. I think you have to be careful not to idolize it. And I think it's kind of that same thing. It's like it's not a wrong thing, but it's not God Himself either. And so, like, being real careful that you don't otherwise make an idol out of something that is that type of thing, or an emotional response, or frankly, even the good feelings that come off with fighting injustice. Like, there's a personal benefit to that because you know you're doing right things. It's just you can't worship them.
Yeah. I met a gal last night who is trying to find a church where she can learn Jesus. Right? You know, just wants to. Recently became a believer, and she's struggling finding a place. She's like, Jesus stuff. Okay. And she's like, well, what's the kinky stuff about your church? I'm like, I don't think I know what you mean. Like, every church has their weird thing. You know, social justice or whatever, you know, and then she mentioned a couple of churches she's gone to and that their weird thing. And I'm like, it's probably a blind spot for them, so it's probably a blind spot for us too. I honestly don't know, but I mean, I'm sure there's something, you know, that we idolize somehow that we don't even realize that you have to really evaluate what you're doing and where your heart's at on things, I think, to see if you have any idols. deceiver.
Hey man, it'd be interesting what she's got like 3 months from now. He's like, well, what is our blind spot?
Yeah, I know.
What's
I
the
know.
kink here?
Holy cow! Maybe she's the prophet that everybody kicks out because he just brings nothing but bad news. Yeah, by the way, you worshiping youth ministry. Oh no, get out of here.
But she seemed pretty cool. I mean, she wasn't like negative on anybody. She
Yeah,
was
right.
just like, I'm just trying to, I want to learn how to live like Jesus. I asked the preacher in one church, and he said, what do I do? And he goes, well, you just keep coming. You'll catch on. She's like, no, I want more than that.
Yeah.
And she, yeah.
Actually, I was. That's another thing I was thinking about today. It's like, and it goes into the tune of the last 3 weeks. I think we've been talking about this, but just the amount of grace that we give ourselves, and like, the New Testament does lay out a lifelong of refinement, of nailing this thing. But like, I think we like to drag it out as if it's done in like bits and pieces. Where really, like, when someone decides to follow Christ, there's a good 95% of your life should just be changed now. Because that's what you said you were going to do. You're going to follow Jesus. And following behind, 6 inches behind Jesus, looking at his heels, makes your life look way different. And the other 5% go through some refinement, till it's getting better. But like we start at like 3% and go, yeah, it's making some good progress. And 6 years later, he's up to 12%, really starting
I've really changed.
and like it's just, I mean, you look at people that got to know Jesus, especially in the New Testament, and the following the disciples and whatever. These people are turning around and starting churches like that. I mean, within weeks, months, days, whatever. We're not talking like 20 years of life refinement before they're preaching the gospel. They're like, good news, heard it, took it in. Other people need to know. Here we go, and out they go. And like we have this weird, like just slow rolling discipleship plan for people that I don't know whether we're not asking enough out of them or like I not telling the whole truth of where you realize what you're signing up for. You're saying you're going to follow Jesus. Like there should be certain things that just start dropping off, immediately, and you're going to have struggles and you're still going to have sin. But like we just handing out our own grace here for our slow, dumb-wittedness, on some of the things that we're supposed to be doing. And so I don't know whether a good, smack by the ear works or I don't know. I don't know what it takes.
Smack by the ear.
I don't know. How do you get people
Sounds
moving?
impressive.
I don't know. We were talking about that in the context of this conversation, though, was how easily things fall away, or the temptations around going back to behavior. I mean, some of that is that.
Yeah.
Right. Like how quickly, like the emotional, you go, hey, I want to help the orphans. I mean, I'm totally in, and then you're 3 weeks out and you're back in your house, and now you're like, well, I do want to help the
They're
orphans.
probably doing all right.
Yeah.
But I've gone, but like, and it's holding. It's that. What does James call it? It's the self-deceit. It's the ability to deceive oneself because you're like, I really do want to help the orphans. Yes, I will take this $6 coffee. You're like, those things do not go together. I am being deceived by myself.
Yeah, it's a trap.
Yeah, it's a trap, right? And so like, that's the thing is like it's so easy to want to do the right thing, and like sometimes it's expressed, most often it's expressed in the other way. And we're talking about this like with addictions and stuff. And like the longer I live, the more sympathy, or at least the more I understand what folks that have some of these addictions are up against. Because like when I say, hey, I'm going to do this thing in the affirmative, they're saying, hey, I'm not going to do this thing in the negative. And then 3 days later, they're back doing the thing. And I'm like, what the heck is the matter with you? When I handed over the $6 for the coffee when I said, look, I'm going to give everything I got. I'm going to every spare change. It's going to the orphans. And like, I very much wanted to give to the orphans. I just wasn't even thinking about it when I bought the coffee. They very much didn't want to relapse into this thing. And like, and theirs is probably a greater pull than mine is. Yeah. And so like, there's a little bit more grace for like how strong it is for us actually to be duplicitous, to be inconsistent with ourselves, have every right intention, and then still do every wrong thing without any intent, like a direct will for it. Hey, I really want to drink this whiskey. Maybe even not. They just found themselves drinking the whiskey. You're like, how could you just find yourself? You had to drive to the bar. You had to get up to the bar. You had to order the whiskey. But then how many times do I find myself in the drive-thru,
Yep,
right?
yep,
I'm not going to do
yep.
this thing, and then I'm like, you know what? I already am in the line. Number one, Coke.
Yeah,
It's
right.
just tomorrow.
And it's not like
Tomorrow
there's,
I'll be healthy.
there's a guy in the booth next to you going, "Hey man, aren't you a recovering fast food man?" You're like, "Dang it, I've been found out." Like we just don't have those guys because they're not big bell ringers, But like the other dudes, it's social stigma, and you're the worst of the worst. And listen, I ain't giving any excuses to these things.
No, right.
You need to get out of there. You're destroying yourself and you're destroying people around you. Like, you hear what I'm saying? But like maybe in the way that we view them, we're not coming down just like God does. He's not coming down any less harsh on the sin, right? But he's saying, "I love you from where you're at, and I understand what you're doing. Let's get you out of it. Let's move it out of there." And so like sometimes we lose I know I've done it. I lose my grace after a while, and I'm like, my patience has run out. It's time for the Lord's patience to step in because I'm out. I'm tapped. I got nothing. And only to realize that like I've been just as guilty about everything that just came out of my mouth on something else that wasn't socially as unacceptable.
Right. Right. All right, you're listening live from the path. That's our introductory remarks. Hey, there were no.
Let's get into the meat now.
Two bits of good news. One, there are no entries on the complaint line.
None at all.
Either people are very happy with the show, or they don't have time to complain.
We need to ramp things up a little bit.
Yeah. I think your dress is unholy. Women should wear pants.
Yeah, all the time.
Wait, I'm on the opposite side.
Dan.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, who
Dad
do you
did it.
agree with? Ben or Dan? All right, call the complaint line, 515-517-0085. We can do calls and text. Go ahead and hit up that complaint line, and we would like to hear from you. Second of all, there's a fresh comment on the YouTube
Really?
on our brass knuckles discussion.
No kidding.
I feel like I need to go back and listen to this because now I don't understand what his reaction was. But so we did a discussion talking about the legality of brass knuckles.
Can
And
you play it? How long of a clip is it?
it's pretty extensive. Hold on, maybe I'll give it just a little bit of a clip. Hold on, let me give it some volume. See if this establishes some context.
Booberies to the extent that you might need a brassiere.
Hey, so we were talking about this on the way in. It's illegal to have brass knuckles, but is it illegal to have like steel knuckles? Are all knuckles illegal?
Can you own extra knuckles? That's the question.
And is it also illegal to put brass knuckles on, say, a chain around your neck so people know, yeah, that's what's up? Because you can't wear them and swing them at people, but can you just put them on a chain and be like, yeah, I own some. Don't make me put them on
Is it
my
actually
knuckles.
illegal to even own them?
I don't know.
I don't think it's illegal to own them. I think it's just the use of that you get into the whole illegal thing.
So
I think it's
Hey,
really
wait,
fine
wait,
if you
wait.
have them.
Hold on a second. I want to share this because I was about to Google it, and I got through is it illegal? and
no.
here are the options. Here are the Google suggestions. Is it illegal to collect rainwater in Iowa? Is it illegal to kill bats in Iowa? Is it illegal to drive barefoot in Iowa? Is it illegal to dumpster dive in Iowa?
no,
Is it illegal to sleep in your car?
definitely not.
You know what? I'm very excited about the non-violent form of most of those in Iowa. It's not really like, hey man, is it illegal to murder somebody in Iowa?
Yeah, but
it's just,
I
hey man,
mean-
can I go jump in a dumpster real quick?
The guys that are talking about how to commit crimes, they're not Googling it first. They're like,
That's true.
I'm doing this thing.
Is it okay to rob from banks in Iowa?
Wait, yeah. These are totally these are totally like middle-aged crimes. Is it illegal to have a pet fox?
Yeah, this is a 20 to 40-year-old person that's going, hey man, I got a list of stuff that I really want to do today. I got to check to make sure these are legal in this state.
Wait, these are great. Is it illegal to have, starting with the letter B? Is it illegal to have body armor? Is it illegal to have blue lights on your car? Is it illegal to have both earbuds in while driving? Is it illegal to have blue interior lights? Is it illegal to have bolt cutters in your car?
What do you think a locksmith does?
Okay, here we go.
They have a special permit.
We're going to get to the brass knuckles of this thing. Is it illegal to have brass knuckles in Iowa? We'll start with Iowa.
Man, a lot of people have been asking this.
This guy says, oh wait, here's this question. I got a BA pair of gold knuckles for Christmas.
A
but my-
BA bear.
He said the full thing, but my stepdad told me that they're illegal to have since they are deemed a concealed weapon. So does this mean I can't even own them? He says, I'm not going to go around breaking jaws with things. I just think they look BA. Please include some source of confirmation. I tried to Google the answer, but to no prevail. Not
This is
right.
Ali G walking around with sweet yellow shades, some gold chains, and brass knuckles.
Boy, this is a weird guy. I hope someone can help me before I land my bum in the slammer. Like, he said BA full words, but bum when I land my bum in the slammer.
I mean, what guy goes around pending Google advice says, well, until I hear the right answer, I'm wearing these knuckles?
Cop pulls you over. Hey, man, I didn't get my Google answered yet.
So
Yahoo hasn't come back, and Ask Jeeves isn't even reliable anymore. So
I erred on the side of I don't care. And
I
put
erred on the
brass
side
knuckles.
of, hey, man, these are BA.
What if I wear them on my feet? Then can I have them about?
Brass toe knuckles.
Here we go. Technically, here's the best answer. Technically, it is legal for you to own them as long as they are carried in the confines of your own home or on private property that you possess. Iowa does not do a very good job of clarifying this, as they do not expressly mention brass knuckles or anything like them in the wording of their laws. What does this
Wait a
guy
minute,
say?
stuff you own, like your pants? Or my hand?
Okay, so
His
here's
hand is my hand.
Here's the law. Chapter 724, subsection
Oh my
1
gosh.
says, except as otherwise provided in this section, a person who goes armed with a dangerous weapon concealed on or about the person, or who within the limits of any city, isn't everything within the limits of a city? Goes armed with a pistol or
Be out in
revolver,
the county.
or any loaded firearm of any kind, whether concealed or not, or who knowingly carries or transports in a vehicle a pistol or revolver, commits an aggravated misdemeanor.
Yeah, okay, so the way that reads, like, they're pretty much concerned about concealed pistol and revolvers, but, like, as long as I don't conceal that I got brass knuckles, I can have them.
So you can have a brass knuckle necklace.
Yeah,
Wait a
so
minute.
I can wear a T-shirt that says, I got the brass knuckles on, and have two arrows pointing out towards my loaded firearms. We'll call them fists, and then I'm cool. I'm legal.
Yeah, I would say that unless the state offers a permit to wear brass knuckles, like it would offer you the ability to carry a firearm, then it shouldn't fall under the statutes because it doesn't give you any way to carry one with a permit.
I totally want to go to a county building and just be like, hey, I'd like to apply for a permit to hold brass knuckles. Like, excuse me? It's like, I think these look real BA. And I like to be on the right side of the law here now. I like to look like I don't care about the right side of the law, but I really do.
Here's just a suggestion for people thinking about this now. If you don't know how to use brass knuckles, I wouldn't wear them because you're just begging for people to come and tip you over like a cow and take your brass knuckles. You know what I'm saying? Like, you better know how to run them.
Wait a minute.
Hey, man, you just throw a punch.
Wait a minute. There's an actual court here. A defendant challenges the
Yes.
factual basis supporting his guilty plea for carrying weapons. His sentence was vacated. Hold on.
Wait a minute. Did he have the brass knuckles?
Here we go. Jason Eaton kept brass knuckles in his glove box for personal protection.
Yes.
For that conduct, the state charged Eaton with carrying weapons in violation of Iowa Code 724-1, which is what we just read. Eaton entered a written guilty plea admitting he concealed the brass knuckles about
All
his
right.
person.
If you want to know what happens with Mr. Eaton, you're going to have to go check out that clip. You can go to livefromthepath.org and check out our discussion on brass knuckles. And I think it goes on for like another 10 minutes.
But when something else gets introduced, is like this weird buffalo knife or something they find in Montana that's been outlawed.
Oh yeah. So anyway, so we got a comment this week on that discussion, and he said brass knuckles are not particularly effective.
Oh,
Wow.
well, that was up for debate, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was what we were talking about. And then he says they are, however, 1, automatic 3 years in prison in New Jersey and New York City, relevant, and 2, a felony to carry in many states. 3, considered aggravated assault in most states. I mean, we talked about the statute.
Yeah.
I feel like we found the right source of the law. I feel like he didn't listen to the clip.
No.
Now, when I got my carry permit for a loaded weapon, they said that includes like stuff like all kinds of knives and stuff. I'm assuming that would include.
Oh, you can get a permit, and so if you have the, it's a concealed carry weapon, which
Yeah.
not just gun.
Right.
So it
right,
could be
right. There's
brass
multiple
knuckles.
Anything. So
I
maybe
mean-
that changed since.
Yeah.
Wouldn't anything be a weapon? You know, like, can I carry around like a chainsaw chain and whoop people with it?
So.
I mean, what counts as a weapon? What if I'm pretty dastardly with a lotion bottle? Like, I can throw it like a boomerang and put the cuts to you. I mean, what qualifies?
Or a jump rope.
Yeah. You don't know what I can be medieval with.
People are always getting strangled with weird stuff in movies.
Yeah.
True.
Shoelaces and such.
Yeah.
Huh.
They
Oh.
used a guitar string, blah, blah, blah. They don't even see pulling those guys over.
Anyway, he says, activate lethal self-defense indemnification in all states. I don't know what this guy's doing on the internet. Well, this sounds appropriate for the internet, I guess. Here's the best part. Let's say one of the bearded basement superfriends here, I think that's referring to us.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's nice I wasn't there that day.
Bearded basement super friends. That's the best.
Okay, it says, let's say one of the bearded basement superfriends here starts getting sloppy drunk and pulls out some brass knuckles on someone. I'm going to F you up. He used the full one. That person not has every right to pull out a .357 Magnum and put a bullet right in your head in self-defense.
Wow.
He's making an extended point. I'm just not following it.
I mean, he really took just a regular tit-for-tat discussion and brought the bricks to it for some reason.
He's got some anger.
He's very upset that we've made light of brass knuckles.
Who was that one guy? Remember that one guy? I can't remember what we were talking about. Maybe it was a Dear Life from the Path advice or something. And it was like super lighthearted. And that guy, that atheist dude, got real upset and was like, Christianity's destructive. It went on a real tear. And I tried to have a conversation with him, and we went like 2 rounds, and then he stopped responding to me.
Yeah, he's got other places to be.
Anyway, maybe you want to dig on brass knuckle conversations. Like I said, go to lifeinthepath.org. Just do a search for brass knuckles.
What was it? Bearded basement super friends?
We need T-shirts.
Yeah, that is awesome. All right. Thanks, buddy. Hey, you should use the complaint line. I'll send him a note.
That is the absolute best insult I've heard against the show yet. Excellent.
Okay, hey, along those lines, here's an interesting story. There was where did the article go? The Bible Museum It says 5 of its Dead Sea Scrolls are fake.
Wait a minute. And now hit me. What exactly are the Dead Sea Scrolls?
So they're scrolls found in the area of Qumran that otherwise that are very important, like in the mid 40s, 50s, like the middle of last century.
Don't they believe they're like from Jeremiah? I mean, he probably hid them, and yeah.
Yeah, and so like the deal is that they have they affirm much of what we know of the Old Testament.
Like that the translations were fairly accurate.
That's right. That's right, because like going back, there's 2 primary texts in the old for the Old Testament. I think it's it validates the Masoretic text, but like the point is that we might be able to look and say here's what we think the wording is of X, Y, and Z books in the Old Testament, and we can go back to say the 8th century or something. If you go back to the Dead Sea Scrolls, they've got portions of some of the prophets and portions of Leviticus, and like the wording is the same. And so what that validates is a common concern that says, hey, people are changing stuff as they go to otherwise jack with the text to get people to believe certain things. And like, how do we know we have the real thing? Well, we have continued to find evidence that affirms the New Testament is most well attested of historical documents of that age, and frankly any age. But even the Old Testament has high affirmation. And when the Dead Sea Scrolls, put our knowledge of and our confirmation that the text has been the same century over century back another 800 years.
So we found these Dead Sea Scrolls, and they're somewhere. We keep them at the Bible Museum, or we keep them somewhere else.
Well, so there's fragments of it that were on the open market that people can buy and sell, and then there's some that museums have and stuff like that. And so, like the folks at the Museum of the Bible obviously believed that they had purchased legitimate copies of parts of the Dead Sea Scrolls, so that they could put them on display, which is what other museums are doing. But the story is that the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. says 5 of its most valuable artifacts, once thought to be part of the historic Dead Sea Scrolls, are fake and will not be displayed anymore. German-based scholars tested the fragments and found that 5 show characteristics inconsistent with ancient origin and therefore will no longer be displayed at the museum. CNN raised questions about the museum's Dead Sea Scroll fragments in an article published last November as the Green family prepared to unveil their new $500 million museum. At 430,000 square feet and with views of the Capitol, the Bible Museum represents a significant investment for its evangelical founders. Now scholars say the Dead Sea forgeries could be part of the most significant sham in Bible archaeology since the Gospel of Jesus' wife, a fiasco that hoodwinked a Harvard scholar and made worldwide news in 2012. Some scholars estimate that as many as 70 forged fragments have hit the market since 2002. So yeah. I mean, here's the thing, though, is it depends. You're going to run with that story and do something based upon whatever you previously believe. This is a setback for them because they paid big money for stuff that they wanted to display. To find out they were fake, just like any museum and an artifact, that's a super bummer. But like, it doesn't. It's not a so like the saying.
They didn't have these things independently verified before they bought them.
I don't know.
I mean, what kind of sham dude sells? I mean, super expensive fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls to a legitimate company, and they're just like, sounds good, bro. You take a cashier's check.
This here's certificate of authenticity.
Yeah.
From Abram. Yeah. So I don't know the process. What does it say?
Those were a pretty penny.
It says in April have theorized forgers. Scholars have theorized that forgers write on top of ancient scraps of papyrus or leather, making the scrolls appear authentic until the ink is tested. Oh, so they got to test the ink. Their report, which the Bible Museum said they recently received, further raises suspicions about the authenticity of all 5 fragments. Before the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered 70 years ago, the earliest and most complete version of the Hebrew Bible was from the 9th century. Okay, I was close. But then Bedouin shepherds stumbled on the scrolls, hidden away for nearly 2,000 years in caves in Qumran on the western shore of the Dead Sea. The discovery was so vast, with more than 900 manuscripts and an estimated 50,000 fragments, it took 6 decades for scholars to excavate and publish them all. Google has them available, by the way. You can Google the Dead Sea Scrolls and you can look at them. They've like scanned them so that they can be, I mean, you'd have to be able to read the Hebrew in them, but they're available online. It says the Israeli Antiquities Authority keeps a tight hold on most of the Dead Sea Scrolls, displaying them in the shrine of the book in Jerusalem. For decades, it was almost impossible for private collectors to get their hands on even scraps from the famous archaeological find. But in 2002, new fragments began mysteriously appearing on the market. The Greens bought their fragments between 2009 and 2014. At the time, they were deeply involved in the antiquities trade, amassing a collection of some 40,000 artifacts. So it's interesting. I would say their reaction is totally appropriate. They're like, hey, these aren't authentic anymore. We're going to pull them.
I mean,
What do you want me to do, Mike?
put them back out on display. What do I care?
You say here's a replica.
Yeah, that's true. Just call them something different, I guess.
I mean, what sounds cheaper, remove from display or print out word replica and put on glass?
They'd probably look something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were fooled, as a matter of fact.
You know what? Takes the money you saved and get yourself a sculpture of a Bedouin shepherd. Stick them right next to him. This thing will look totally legit.
And maybe a sculpture of a guy manufacturing a fragment.
I guess what I'm saying is, like, if I went all this way to the Bible whatever museum and then halfway through the trip I find out that these aren't actual copies, I'm not like, I don't think that I would get all upset and go, I can't believe it. I looked at a piece of paper and it wasn't really as old as I thought. Dang it.
Right.
I've heard it's a fabulous museum.
Yeah, I've also
people.
heard that.
Yeah. People say it's great. I don't know.
We should find someone that's gone.
What a bunch of suckers.
You don't want to go to the Bible Museum?
They got shammed. Those papers not as old as they thought.
You know what's interesting? I thought the reaction was
What else
scholars.
is in that museum? Is there a replica of Moses' beard in there? I mean,
It's Bibles. It's like copies of Bibles and like histories of Bibles and that kind of thing.
yeah.
A replica of the Gutenberg press.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go in there and check it out.
I mean, is it free?
No. Oh, wait a minute. It might be free. I don't know.
Most stuff up there is, but it isn't, I believe. I think it's a donation or something.
Yeah, that sounds like the
Because it's
people
not
of Jesus.
government sponsored.
The government lets you walk through any building you want, but you want to see pictures of God's word, boy, it's going to cost you money.
Yeah, well, just because his family paid for it, so.
I mean, you're going to let people see it for free, ain't you? What happened to this world? Come on, Dan. You got old Bibles?
They got to pay staff. They got people, authenticating all kinds of stuff here.
They should get volunteered big Christian bouncers to be in there hanging out.
Oh, wait a minute. This is that's to become a member.
No, we just want to visit, Ben. I don't want to be a member.
Yeah, I don't either. Hold
I'm
on.
going to buy one of their Dead Sea Scrolls. I can't talk.
Tickets. Here we go. It's a suggested admission.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, it sounds like you can walk in for free if you want to. Because the Museum of the Bible does not receive government funding, we are 100% dependent upon the support of our guests, members, and donors. Your generosity has a direct impact. Suggested tickets are $20 a dude.
Wait, does that say walk-up visitors always welcome? They're open 7 days a week? Hobby Lobby closes on Sunday.
These guys own Hobby Lobby.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They close down their retail stores on Sunday, but you can go to this Bible museum on Sunday?
Well, even 10 to 4. Someone could have caught the early mass.
I guess.
Catch the 9 a.m.
I actually don't have a problem with it. I act like I care. I'm actually not offended by this, but
Okay. Anyway, I'm not so like the one thing that jumped out when they say it could be part of the most significant sham in biblical archaeology. I mean, like, let's grant that they got kind of hoodwinked, but I mean, it doesn't do anything about the veracity of the scrolls themselves, right?
No,
They're just they don't have the right replicas. But like, it's not like the affirmation of the text that the Dead Sea Scrolls produced is in jeopardy.
Right.
So okay, some guy got ripped off in the antiquities market. I heard a story on NPR 2 weeks ago about a guy who was buying like 100-year-old bottle of whiskey or bourbon or something, and it went for $1 million. I thought, like, that's a sham. That's a sham right there.
did you see that article about that painter guy where they sold like a super expensive painting of a kid with a red balloon, and then as soon as somebody bought it, it went through a self-shredder?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that guy. So it's Banksy. He started as like a street artist in London, and then like
What do you mean, Dan? Don't know Banksy?
That's why.
I'm sorry, Dan. Do you know Banksy?
I have no clue.
Yeah.
I'm describing him.
Okay.
He started as like a graffiti or a street artist in London, and started to become like really famous for it. And so like had traveled around the world and has done things. He's a little like private dude. But doesn't do like commercial art or anything. He once he bought like an old abandoned amusement park and created like an art piece out of it. Like it was really dreary and I don't know, macabre or whatever. It was interesting. So, but anyway, I think he's kind of mocking the amount that like people are willing to pay for prints of his work or originals of his work. And so like he designed this the painting and then the frame that went around it, and it had like he built a shredder in it into the frame, and so it went up to like Sotheby's or somewhere, and like somebody paid like an outrageous amount of money, $1 million plus or whatever for this thing, and then as soon as they said sold, like someone was in on it and like triggered the thing, and all of a sudden the painting drops down and then starts to shred.
God, that's awesome.
Oh man.
That was really good.
That would have been really cool to be there.
Oh.
You imagine the whole room is just aghast.
What do you do?
There are a bunch of society types pooping their pants. They're like, I don't know what happened here. This is crazy.
There's you can see it online. There's like clips of there's just guys who just had a cell phone out at the time, and like you hear this beep beep beep, and all of a sudden it goes. Bzz.
Man, that would have been cool.
Oh man.
I mean, if you can't, there's nothing humbling and gets you to laugh at yourself faster than that. Some dude just forked out 1 point whatever million. I mean, here's the thing: if you collect the scraps, I bet you can turn around and sell it for $5 million because it was part of the whole prank or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
so that person kept it for that reason.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't say it's not destroyed, it's better.
yeah.
Now it's got a story.
Yep.
Yeah, now it's artsy. Although to be honest, we took a man who graffitis for a living and then started calling it street art. You're a criminal. You're a common criminal, sir.
Right on. All right. Anyway, I was going to talk about Christian witches, but it can wait.
Okay.
Mike, what do you got?
Okay, hold on. Dear, live from the path. My wife and I have been married for 13 years. It hasn't always been easy. She recently decided on her own that we needed a fresh start because of some financial problems we were having. So she applied for a job in a state 6 hours away from any of our family. You really think this is for financial reasons? You might be a dummy.
I love this already.
She accepted the job before telling me anything about it. Now she says our daughter and I should pack up and go with her. Several issues complicate matters. Our daughter is 11 and just started middle school. I don't want to pull her out before school is out. Second, I have several health issues, and my doctors are within 2 hours of home. All my doctors coordinate with each other. If we move, I'll be too far away from them. I don't want to start over with new ones. I love my wife and I want to be with her, but I'm worried about the future if I move not only away from my doctors, but also my family. Please help.
Yeah, I found a job 6 hours away. You should come.
Yeah.
You and our child should come. What do you think?
I went ahead and accepted it.
What the heck?
Okay, one, man's leaving out some large portions of these stories. You know, like if there's so much detail missing that you can't understand how this problem has not already been addressed in any way, then he's leaving out large portions of it.
Yeah.
So let's take some things into consideration. One, this man doesn't work. He obviously has physical ailments that are not allowing him to work. Two, his wife is the breadwinner of the family, has to bring in some money. Financial difficulties could be a wide range of things, like either the man has a gambling problem or the job she has is not paying well enough or something. Right now, left to your own devices, if you said, look, family, we're going under here. I did find a job 6 hours away. We're going to have to move. That's where the work is. I'm the only person that works here. This is what we have to do to survive. And then makes that decision. I would find all of that, at least some backstory to say whether she has decided to do all this without even bringing it up to him. Unless, once again, if he has a gambling problem or something, he's the one flushing all the money down the toilet, I would have told him nothing either. Like, hey, we're moving, and here we go. Obviously, you can't stay here. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I don't. I would agree that I don't think there's enough information here to give advice. Because like the woman sounds outrageous.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, there just feels like there has to be more to this story. It seems. I mean, it's taken at face value. In a marriage, yes, you should not decide to move 6 hours away without talking it over. You shouldn't really even be applying for a job. You could say, hey, I heard about this job. I was thinking about applying. What are your thoughts?
She probably didn't want to tell him because he was going to put up all this whiny stuff. I mean, here's the thing: is let's say he's got legit medical problems, right? Most people I know that have legit medical problems don't move any more than half an hour away from a hospital, mostly for insurance reasons. Like their insurance company just will not tolerate it. Like if you want us to pay for it, you need to be within X amount of a hospital. So this man who has medical problems, probably legit, but his doctors are all within 2 hours of each other. Unless you live in rural Alaska, that's not feasible, right? You could live next to any capital and be within half an hour of every doctor. And so that seems weird to me that your health problems are significant enough, but you don't have to live close enough to a hospital.
Yeah. So is the point it wouldn't still be true that he has to get like all new doctors and all new coordination and whatever?
Yeah.
Which I mean would happen if you had to move anyway. That would just be the impact of moving. It seems like the crux of hey, I didn't know this was coming.
It really feels like he's leaving out that they're getting foreclosed upon, and whatever job she had no longer exists.
Yeah, how far had they sunk? I mean, it's just going by what was written. I would say she's already left the relationship. She's hoping he's not coming with her.
Oh,
I mean, but the kid
She wants to be free.
and the kid too, though.
Yeah.
You gonna leave the 11-year-old with the dude that's got the health problems?
yeah. Once again, he's cited the kid with him as if it's her against them.
I don't
She'll
trust
fight
him.
that out in the courts, and she'll get the kid too.
Here's the thing. I could be wrong, but this
She's giving
man
him
seems
the
shady
dust.
to me. That's the way he tells the story is so obviously one-sided that you can smell it coming around the block.
Yeah.
Okay. Secular says, the decision your wife made should have been made jointly, not by her alone. Your reasons for wanting to remain where you are valid, and I think you would be wise to discuss what's going on with an attorney before this goes any further.
I mean, it really depends on more detail.
Go more to a counselor.
I suppose the thing is if you're trying to be everybody's friend, especially the person that wrote into you, you have to say things like that. But the truth of the matter is, friend, you told a half of a story. Something's very, very missing in the thing that you're saying.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to discern what's actually going on at your place when you tell stories. Like when your buddy calls, tells some kind of story about how he got screwed at work or his wife's treating him poorly, and you're like, look, Greg, I know this can't be the whole story.
Yeah.
You have a tendency to blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Did you do any of those things? Well, and then Greg is caught dead to rights.
Yeah.
Let's see. We can probably do one or two more.
Yeah, one more.
One more. Dear Life from the Path, I have had it up to here with my crabby next-door neighbor. She grows vegetables in her garden, squash and pumpkins at this time of year. Our properties are separated by a wire fence. A few days before Halloween last year, a friend brought her 2 grandsons, who were 4 and 6, for a visit. They were excited to find a pumpkin in my yard that weighed about 10 pounds and managed to get into my house because they wanted to make a jack-o'-lantern.
Mhm.
No sooner did I reach for the phone to tell my neighbor what they had done, then she came banging at my door accusing the boys of the theft. To make peace, I handed the pumpkin to her with my apologies. This morning I noticed 2 pumpkins have tendrils that have crept through the fence and are now growing on my property. More than one person has told me they're on your property, so they belong to you. Another has said that if my tree grows over her property, she has the right to trim the branches. Ergo, I get to keep the pumpkins. I think a fair solution is to keep one pumpkin and give her the other. But Krabby Kathy might have other ideas. Before this gets ugly again, what do you say?
I say you should go talk to Krabby Kathy.
Yeah.
Listen, when you graduate 3rd grade, go over there and try to have a frank discussion with her. Because here's the truth, friend. They're not your pumpkins. They're not. You don't have a magic fence that whirs over into her area. Now you're like, if you want to be mad about something, like throw the pumpkins back on her lot or something.
Yeah.
But like, just because you don't get to keep one just because it's come over to your place. That's not the way that works. It'd be like her dog got out and came into your backyard, and you're like, my dog now. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I mean, like, when you saw it, you could have just said, "Hey, Kathy, drag the tendrils back to your own yard." Like we have, what are we growing? We do watermelon, and like it'll do that. Like it starts to kind of creep somewhere, and so like you got to rein it in or cut it off, make sure it doesn't go to the neighbor's yard. And so like you could have just. It takes a while. Like you don't come out and then all of a sudden a cucumber's out your plate or a watermelon showed up a week later.
Right.
So I mean, like you could have had this conversation at any time prior to it being big enough to make a jack-o'-lantern. So, but like, you could say, "Hey, it's over into my lot. I'll leave it if you don't want to leave it, or for whatever reason you can't have it over there. If you're willing to split the pumpkins with me, if not, just pull it back over to your place." I mean, there's a reason. There's like a lot of easy discussions to have here.
Or throw it over there. Just pick it up and put it back.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I don't know what kind of caveat you're trying to live by, where you asked your buddy and he's like, yeah, sounds like it's probably yours because of the tree branch thing. Your friends are dumb and you're dumb. It's not your pumpkin. It's just not your pumpkin.
Yeah.
And you're too old to be doing this.
Wait, how old was she?
It doesn't say either one. I mean, I'm assuming if you're a homeowner and you live next to Kathy and you have grandsons that are 4 and 6, I'm guessing you at 60.
Okay.
Maybe 50 something or whatever. But you're a grown woman or man. Just either buy your own pumpkin, put her pumpkins on their side.
They're $5.
Stop trying to get a free pumpkin out of the deal. Is this the only thing that motivates you in your age anymore? Is the thought of maybe a free $6 pumpkin from the neighbor?
That's true. They're cheap. We found some a group of people selling pumpkins, and they were $3. Didn't matter what type. I mean, I bought a giant pumpkin for $3.
You know, they said that's a huge problem at that that festival they have at amusement park. They have a Halloween Oktoberfest or whatever,
yeah.
and they buy like 3,000 or 4,000 pumpkins, and people get all sauced up and just take them. They just walk right out. Says like they're more than half of them are gone. People just pick them up and figure, well, it's here, now it's mine, and steal them. Like they have to buy enough for attrition because these dudes are just, they pick them up. Said last time they had this guy, this is a good story. This dude come walking out drunk to the hilt, has like this 30-pound pumpkin on him, hauling it out to the thing. And so one of the upper management of this amusement park goes, hey, hang on. And he pulls up next to the guy in a golf cart and says, hey, man, you taking that out to your car? And the guy's like, yep. He says, well, why don't you just put it in the back? He goes, great, man, that'd be awesome. And then he put it in the back, and then the guy drove away. Because the guy was drunk and being an idiot. But, you know, I mean, straight up stealing this gigantic pumpkin, which is probably $30, you know, to buy this big old honking pumpkin. And this dude is just he's going to take it home because he attended the event and figured, hey, this is mine now. People are pretty low rent. All right, Secular says, your quote, crabby neighbor was correct. Your friend's grandsons did help themselves to her pumpkin, and it was wrong. You and your friend should both have apologized to the woman when you realized they had purloined the pumpkin, returned it, and taken the kids to the store to buy one they could cut up. If you pull the trick you're planning, it won't necessarily be a treat. You may escalate an already unpleasant situation beyond pumpkin season, and I don't recommend it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, the grandsons did this innocently.
Yeah, they don't know.
You've taken
It's in the yard.
a childhood
right.
mistake and then decided you were going to live by it and start stealing pumpkins from your neighbor like an idiot.
Hey, roll the car over here.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, you've been listening to Live from the Path. Thanks for hanging out with us. Maybe you disagree with our advice. You have a wiser way of living. Let us know. Call the complaint line. Call or text 515-517-0085. That's the Eisenhower complaint line, 515-517-0085. And I think that's all we got for this week. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll be back with you next week. In the meantime, be faithful in the means. God will handle the ends. You've been listening to Live from the Path.